Hi! Hey guys, my name is Chanel Perrillo, and I'm a casting director and producer based in Los Angeles. I've cast shows like Drag Race, F-Boy Island, the Real Housewives franchise, and Million Dollar Listing, to name a few. I want to welcome you to Shut Up Chanel, a podcast where I take you through my LGBTQIA plus journey, while each week I get to chat with the queer royalty that helped shape me. Buckle up, because I know you're going to want to tell me to shut up.
Shut up, Chanel! Shut up, Chanel! Chanel, shut up! Shut up, shut up! Shut up, Chanel! Shut up, Chanel! Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, Chanel! Shut up, shut up, shut up, Chanel!
What is going on? You look gorgeous. There we go. Oh, we're gonna get set up. She's in her New York City, I'm guessing, apartment. All right. Are
I'm in
we?
my brother's room.
Oh.
They're cleaning the windows in my side of the apartment.
Mhm.
So I could hear the I was like, oh God, I can't. I was like, no. I was like, Coco's gonna kill me. So I was like, so I called my brother. I was like, listen, I gotta film in your room. He was like, listen, don't show my sneakers. I don't give a fuck. I was like, okay.
Oh my God. Well, it's like we're in bed with Jiggly. You look beautiful.
Technically. Thank you. I gotta do laundry. So I was like, might as well.
Oh my God, today's my laundry day too. Okay, wait, before we get going, let me give you your intro so we
Thank
can get
you.
this going. She is the undisputed empress of comebacks, the sorceress who transforms shade into a symphony, and the whirlwind of joy you'll want as your life's permanent plus one. Bow down, motherfuckers, to the monarch of merriment, the one, the only, Jiggly Caliente.
What's up, Chanel?
Oh my
You know,
God.
are your boobs getting bigger?
No, are they?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I feel like I just have a good push up bra on today.
Chanel, no. When I first met you, they were not like that. And then when we went to Vegas, they weren't that big either. I just feel like they're growing.
Well, when I started season 4, I had no breasts. And
You
then,
did?
no, I got my boobs done the summer after your season wrapped.
No, but you the way you say it, you act like you had pancakes like in the front. You were fine.
I
You just
had
didn't have LA boobs. That's what it is. You didn't have LA boobs.
LA. You know, when I first became friends with Manila, I was like, I'm really thinking about getting my boobs done. And she was like, well, you're in LA, you got to. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, if you were in New York, we would go shopping for a Chanel suit, but you're in LA, so you got to get your tits done.
Do you know she asks me every year? She's like, "Is this the year?" I go, "No." I'm like, "I'm good."
Oh my God. Well, may I call you Jiggly?
Yes, you ain't call me Jiggly.
Jiggly and I go back so far. It's over a decade now, girly. But I want to know, tell the listeners, how did you and I meet?
You casted me.
Okay, well,
You were my like that's just face fact. Like you are the reason. I don't know if it was you that called Manila and asked Manila that you were looking for a sassy big girl. And Manila was like, "Well, I got the perfect one. She's a chubby girl. She's brown. She's Filipina, but she also thinks she's black." I was like, "What?" Well, I remember Manila telling me that because I honestly had no interest in doing drag race. So when Manila was like, they presented this to me, I was like, and then Sahara was like, "What's the worst that could happen?" They say yes. I go, "True," and I was like, and I kept thinking they're not gonna fucking put my ass. I'm like, I'm an escort. I was like, there's no way. I'm like, my story. I was like, I sound like a nightmare for television. So I was like, oh no. I was like, I'm good. That's why I was so honest. Because I was like, oh, they're not gonna put my ass on. If I keep telling the truth, they're not gonna put my. No, that was honestly the mistake I made. I should have just kept and be like, no, I'm just a jolly little bitch. New York.
Do you know that we've been friends for so long now? And this is the first time I'm hearing that you were an escort during the casting process.
You honestly didn't know?
I was okay.
Who
So
did
let
I
me.
say that to then? I told one of the casting people.
Well, I will tell you what I was told. I do remember when Manila suggested you to me, and I'll set the stage for that. So, and when she did suggest you to me, she was like, but like she identifies as a woman. She's like, but we don't need to tell anyone that. And I was like, I will keep it our little secret. And so that was the only tea I got. So when it came time, so I told the listeners before, like season 3, I worked on set, and then I got the opportunity to help with casting for season 4. So I was so excited. Like I had already built this like kind of like plethora of queen friends because I had done Drag U and Drag Race, got through season 3. And when it came time for season 4, this was during a time where, remember, like there wasn't Instagram, like there was only Facebook. Yeah. and going to drag shows and word of mouth. So when it came time for season 4, we were told that we were allowed to reach out to all the season 3 girls and ask them if they had like suggestions, like who should we keep our eye out for? And so Manila and I had gotten like close. And so I was like, I'm going to call Manila. She'll know everyone in New York City. And we had like started getting submissions, but we weren't. And I don't even know if I was just looking for a plus size girl, in a sense that like I think maybe, like plus size wasn't necessarily something I wasn't looking for, but I was really just like looking for more New York City queens and someone that was different, that wasn't just like every other queen. And so when I think I was like, I want another like fun Asian queen, like I wanted Asian representation, like Manila brought to the show. And I remember hitting up Sahara and Manila, and they were like, you got to talk to Jiggly Caliente.
I was so like, when they told me, I was like, y'all are so stupid. I was like, they're not gonna put my dumb ass on television. I was like, girl, I'm like maybe Bad Girls Club kind of vibe. I was like, I'm not Drag Race. I was like, yeah, I was doing pageants, but like my out outside of my pageant persona in drag, I was like a little hood rat.
I remember you the whole time during filming being like, I was made for Bad Girls Club, and you'd be like, Coco, can you get me on Bad Girls Club after this? Like you wanted to be on Bad Girls Club so bad.
Because I felt like that's my vibe. And plus on Drag Race, we're not allowed to hit nobody. Do you know how many times I wanted to slap the shit out of Sharon? Mainly that night when she was like, oh, so you just don't like the Kai Kai thing? I wanted to smack the shit out of her. I was like, you were making it bigger than it was. So I was so mad at her. I was like, ooh, I wanted to hit her. But we're not allowed to. Because I was told I would get the score.
Wait, so for the listeners that don't know what we're talking about, what are you talking about? What was the night you wanted to slap Sharon Needles?
The night, remember when we were talking about Kai Kai, and I was like, oh, dating another drag queen, that's disgusting. Honestly, like now that I look back at it, my verbiage really sucks. Like I'm just so blunt sometimes I don't think. And I was like, and for me also being a trans girl, so for me dating any like feminine kind of entity would just not be my vibe. It wasn't like I think of myself as a straight girl, so I don't think of myself as gay or so. And it was one of those instances that I answered it so honestly and didn't think twice about the repercussions of it. So I was just like, oh, and then I realized my two best friends are in a Kai Kai drag relationship. So here goes mom now saying that I look like the only hypocrite. So I was like, oh, fuck. So when everything started to like click in my head, and then Sharon kept pushing. It was during that time, I was like, oh, I'm going to slap the shit out of her. That's why when Fifi went after her, I said, go, get that bitch. I was so mad. I was just like so angry. Like, because I knew that I was going to end up, and like I remember Sahara telling me, She was like, Jiggly, don't go up in this television show acting a fool and saying some crazy shit. So I knew that I was like, oh man, I was like, this isn't going to end well. And then the way I explained it, because I was so angry, I couldn't think straight. For me, personally, for me in general, I said I sounded so ridiculous. I was like, oh Lord. I was like, this ain't gonna end well. This ain't gonna end well. I was like, I need to beat this bitch's ass because that's the only way I can feel better about the situation.
I am dying with all this like new knowledge that you've bestowed on me. And I knew this was going to be the catch up I needed of
Because
a
I couldn't
lifetime.
tell you the stuff like, and we never really had the chance to actually like really, I couldn't really tell you everything because you were working on the show. Like even when I was sneaking out, I could not have told you that. There was no way. You would have gotten fired if I told you I snuck out. And it was like, but it wasn't your watch. So I didn't do that to you. I was nice. I didn't do it to you.
And then Willem just came and stole the show, and you didn't even have to worry about it.
But why did she have to do it after I got eliminated? Like, damn, bitch, you couldn't just do that on our episode and our lip sync. Fucking bitch. I was like, damn, I should have just like.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back before I asked Manila for suggestions, and
Mhm.
she brought me Jiggles, and I used to call you Jiggles all the
Jiggle.
time. And now you don't jiggle no more. You honestly, I
I
mean,
still jiggle. I still jiggle. It's just not a lot. It's just not. It's no longer a lava lamp, but it's still like a hacky sack. Okay. What?
I love hacky sacks. Okay. So let's take me back. So when you say you were an escort, like fill me in. Like, what is your backstory? What kind of got you into the drag scene? Because I know that you were performing at Escolita,
Hmm.
but
But
a lot of trans girls performed at Escolita.
but Escolita was only paying us $100 a night plus tips. That wasn't shit, girl. Come on, like who can make money out of that? So for me, and then when after my mom died, I had to do some major adulting
Mm-hmm.
because bills had to be paid,
Well,
and we went.
let's tell the story. So what brought you, did you grow up in New York? Did you grow up with your family in New York? What brought you to
Mhm.
New York?
So okay, I was about 11 years old when we migrated to New York,
Mm-hmm.
to the US. I was born in the Philippines, so we came here when I was like 11 years old. And then like just lived in New York my whole life. So you know, I've honestly been in the same apartment since I was like 11 years old. We've lived in this apartment for like almost 30 years, like 32 years actually. Like my home, like my mom and everything, like it took time for her to get to be cool with the trans and the gay and the drag and all that stuff. It took her a second. It wasn't all of a sudden my mom was this welcoming like mom that was just like it's okay. But
Mm-hmm.
my the main thing that my mom always told me is you're my kid. I love you. I
Mm-hmm.
will never let you fail or you like like she wouldn't throw me out. She didn't do none of that. She was like I'm not going to quit on you because you're gay or you're trans or even though the first was like I also came out to my mom in increments. So first was gay because that's what I thought it was.
And
And then
how old were you when you came out as gay?
16,
Okay.
like literally the day after my 16th birthday, I told my mom, and she was thrilled because it was like right after Thanksgiving. She was just like, "Oh, great, this is the kind." And I was like, I honestly I should have waited till after Christmas. I
Mm-hmm.
think I would have gotten better gifts that year. But my mom, like it took her a second. Like she took me to church, everything, all that stuff. They thought they were gonna pray the gay away. They thought,
Mm-hmm.
because we're super like we're super religious, and I will say this, like I know that my what my mom did was she was trying to understand me and see if it was a phase. Like she just wanted because my mom had gay friends. So it's not like she didn't know. what the
Yeah.
life was like.
She was a New
But
York
also
City gal.
yeah, but also my mom is a nurse. So in the 80s and the 90s, like the
AIDS.
AIDS epidemic was huge. So that was my mom's biggest fear. So she was just like, I don't want you to die. And I was just like, in my head, I'm like, I'm a kid. I'm not thinking about that shit. Like I remember telling my mom when she said that to me, I was like, Mom, I haven't even kissed a guy yet. Like, what are you talking about AIDS? I was like, relax. Like, and I told her I was,
But now as an adult looking back, does it make sense to you? Like she was a nurse.
yeah,
Like that would that
yeah.
I watching
That's
like
why that's why I never ever gave my mom shit for it because I knew what my mom was dealing with day in and day out. Because I also remember when she first moved to the US, being a nurse from the Philippines, she couldn't get the kind of jobs that she wanted as a nurse. So they stuck her in an HIV ward. So that was the only thing she saw. So, and then here comes her kid that comes out and tells her, Mommy, I'm gay. Of course, my mom's biggest fear is going to be what she sees at work. So
yeah.
I couldn't, I remember like crying to my brother about it. And he's the one who kind of explained to me, he was like, you got to understand, mommy's a nurse. That's all she sees is people that get sick and die. He was like, so you can't when the AIDS epidemic was still so huge. Like this is like I came out to my mom what 1996. So that around that time, granted, it was getting better, but
Mhm.
it wasn't really. You know what I mean? Like they just weren't talking about it as much. But my
Mhm.
mom already saw all that beforehand, so I don't blame her for being
Mhm.
afraid and worried for me. So yeah, and then when I came out as trans, she that made sense to her. That is the funniest thing to me because she was like, "Oh, this makes sense."
Why do you think it made sense to her?
I guess because growing up the way I am,
Mhm.
and she just kind of was just like, "Mm, my son is a little sweet," but it wasn't like. But when I told her, I was like, "Mommy, I don't feel like I'm gay," and then my mom goes, "Are you sure?" Because this is like I was like 25, 26, 25, and my mom was just like, okay, so you're straight. I go, yeah, but I like men. She was like, wait, make that make sense. I go, I don't think I'm a boy. That's when she was like, uh, okay. And I told her, I was like, I don't feel right in this body. I was like, I don't feel like yeah, I just can't. And then I remember crying to my mom about it. Like, I hate being a boy and I hate when I get in drag, I have to take all of like I love putting it on. I hated taking it off. And I like for some reason being trans made sense to my mother. And that was easier for her to accept than me being gay or a drag queen. And I was like, I and then I remember just being like wanting to complain about it, but my brother's like, "You're an idiot if you complain about that." He's like, "This is easy compared to all the other shit you've gone through. At least she's not trying to pray the trans away from you."
Exactly. She's like I had a straight daughter the whole time.
Yes. So
That's how she made it make sense in her head.
yeah. And then I was like, okay. And also probably my mom was like, oh, for fuck's sake. I'm like, I'm not dealing with this anymore. She's like, all right, whatever. Next, you're gonna tell me you want to be a dog. I don't care anymore. Just live your life and be happy at this point.
So
So
how old were you when you came out as trans to your mom?
25.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you went on Drag Race?
30 years old.
Okay, so you had like a good 5 years living as a trans woman before you
Well, okay,
told
so
me
I
you
was
were
just
trans going on to Drag Race.
yeah.
What a
I
mind
was
fuck for yourself.
Oh, it was hell on earth because I literally like so when I turned 27, like the year 2007, beginning of that year, my mom was about to go into heart surgery and I was just like I told my mom I was like, "Listen, I think I want to just get rid of all my boy stuff." So she was like she helped me pack all my clothes. She said, "Listen, just in case, we're going to keep this one box." And we kept the box and everything else we just donated. And she helped me do that. So I started living my life as a girl, doing all that. And then my mom had an aneurysm. And for like 3 months, she was in a coma. And then come August, it was done. So I lost my mom in '07, like August. So I literally just had months with my mom. And it just, it was a lot. It was a lot. And I felt cheated because it was just like, I felt like I just had months with my mom for her to get to know her daughter. And everything was going well. And also, like, when my mom was prior to her going into surgery, I was always the one that was with her for all her checkups and all that. Like, we were like thick as thieves. I was like
Mm-hmm.
the mama's girl. And since I'm her eldest, so I was always with my mom. So when she passed, it was just like it was a lot for me. Like I was also very dark because I wanted to be numb because all that pain, I just wanted to be numb. So like there was a lot of things that I did, and then bills had to be paid. So I just everything was to make me numb and not feel pain. So I dove into drag, I dove into escorting, I dove into a little bit of drug use. Not crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
I was like just enough to get me like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just not thinking about the present moment.
Yeah.
I
Just
think.
so I would not feel
Well, and you were
like
young.
feeling
How
pain.
how old were you when you lost your?
27.
That's
I was
so
20.
fucking young.
And like, I'm also the kind of the kid that, my mom was still teaching me how to be an adult. At 27, yes, it sounds really
No,
okay,
you
like
are still a fucking child at 27. I
and
lost my dad at 37 and I was not ready. Like there's still stuff that we had to do
I don't think
together.
anyone is ever ready for death,
Mm,
no matter how planned or whatever. It's like you're just never ready to let go. It's
mm-mm.
not easy. And there is no type of pain anyone can tell me like burying your mom or like I think the only equivalent would be burying a child. I don't think anyone would. I wouldn't even wish that upon my worst enemy. That kind of pain because it is crippling. Mainly when you're close to your mom or dad, like it is crippling. And there'll be days where I think I'm fine, and then like I'm literally at a gig, and when I get back to the hotel, I'm literally crying in the shower.
And it's like and you can never prepare yourself for it. Listeners, me and Jiggly were supposed to do this on Saturday, but I thought I was so strong. I made it through my dad's birthday, like with just like I had like one cry in the morning and then it was like a beautiful day. And I was like, "Oh my god, like look at you. You've grown so much since last year's birthday. Like you're good." And then I went to go buy a fucking new car and for some reason like car shit is always something I did with my dad. I never had to get myself a fucking car. Like that was something my dad loved to be in control of. And I'm like sitting at the table and I just like lost it out of nowhere. And I'm like crying in this car dealership. and being like, "Oh my god,
Oh,
I thought I was a strong fucking bitch." And so I called Jiggly and I was like, "I can't do it today." And she's like, "Honestly, it's my brother's birthday too. I'm emotional." So we decided to move it to today. But that's grief, like a perfect
yeah.
example of it. It comes
It
in
can get you
waves.
at any, like, I remember we did that cruise. There was a
I talk about the Alan Chuck cruise on this podcast every episode
that
because
fucking I call it the drag Amistad. I cannot stand that. Oh, I hated that. Like in hindsight, it sounds like a really cool idea, but the fact that there was no escape
it
from the
was
fans,
Firefest. It was Firefest on the water.
I was like, God Almighty. But I remember like there was one night, and thank God for Manila. And it sobered Manila up too. And she was so annoyed with me after. 'Cause she was like, God damn it, Jiggles. I was just like, there was this mom and her grown son, Asian mom and kid, well,
Mhm.
a grown adult, but she and him told me that me and Manila were like the reason for him and his mom to kind of bridge their relationship back because they were so estranged because of him being gay and him showing that there are other Asians that are going through that or like it was sweet, but for me a relationship with somebody's mother for me is like
That's what it gets you. That's see, it's like those
like
moments.
it, and like it was right outside of that casino club thing,
The discoteca.
the discoteca, and I remember just like I don't know how many drinks I had that night. I know I did 3 bumps, and I was just like I still couldn't be numb. I was so mad. I was like I had to cry, and Manila just saw me in the corner. She was like, "What are you doing over here?" And I go, and that's what I told her, and I just as soon as the last word came out of my mouth, fucking flood works. And I was just like, and Manila just standing in front of me going, what the fuck do I do? And thank God, like Manila was there because I was just like, I remember I didn't want to cry in front of anyone. So Manila was like, let's go up to the pizza. Let's go get pizza.
Hmm.
And thank God it took them an hour to get us pizza that day because it was like, man. And the waves were making noise, so you couldn't really hear me boohooing.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I remember Manila was like, I'm sober now. Thanks, Jiggles.
That's so crazy. And that's like honestly what it was. Like I compared the cruise to like a meet and greet that just never ended. So like
Oh
people,
God.
because that's what a meet and greet, like you'll get like at a drag queen meet and greet, I feel like there's a mixture of like hardcore fans. There's like the people that just came, like that are fans of the show. But then there's like people that are specifically there to tell you how you changed their life.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And it was at the beginning of Drag Race where it like you weren't getting those comments or DMs. It was like you would get that interaction
Yeah.
at the meet and greet, and
And
that's what was the brink of the show when it really was changing the way parents looked at their children.
yeah, and I just remember like after like that that cruise was like it was a lot, but there was a lot of great things that happened in that cruise for me. Like I got to know other Rue girls. And it was because like in the beginning I was only like stuck to Manila and Fifi. Those were like the only two that I was like really close to. And everybody else I was kind of like not I was cool with everybody, but I didn't feel like I could get close to anyone. Also, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want anyone to know me, like the real me, because I was just like, I didn't know how some people would feel about me being trans. Because it was also the time where I was like, I had to kind of, I felt like I had to play a boy
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't, and it wasn't, I always reiterate this, like, I don't think it was Drag Race that made me feel like that. It was the world.
It was the world, and Drag Race was just a product of the world. You know what I mean? Like
So yeah,
as Drag Race evolved, so has the world.
yeah, and so when people were like, "Oh, you were told not to be," I was like, "No, I was hiding this myself because I
Mm-hmm.
knew I was so early in my transition. Like I was barely on Moan, so I was like, oh, I there was no way I would come out and for let the world to nitpick every little thing about me and be like, oh, yeah, no, she,
Yeah, no, you were just discovering your womanhood like along with the audience. You know what I mean? And like
yeah,
you were going through puberty before everyone's eyes. And like the last thing a girl going through puberty wants is the world judging her. You know what I mean?
oh,
Those
yeah.
are the awkward years. That's like your hormones and you're learning how to live as a woman.
And
And
I remember like Jacqueline, she was my story producer. I remember how Jacqueline would, she was like, Jiggly, if you want to talk about this, we will treat this with the utmost respect.
mhm.
But I was just not ready to talk about it because I was just like, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know, I, I didn't have the resources to be like, well, this is who I am as a woman. Because there were things that I was even in myself trying to figure out. Like for me, I was like, okay, am I a girly girl? But there's a little bit about me that is so into X-Men, so into fighting games. So this it was just like it like the math wasn't mathing for me. And
Mhm.
to what the world would think of a woman or a girl would be. I didn't know if I fit that mold, so I didn't know what to answer. So when as much as I wanted to share, I couldn't because I didn't know what to say. And the last thing I wanted was to look like an idiot on Drag Race, even though I already ended up looking like an idiot on Drag Race anyway,
No,
for
you
that
did.
fucking post-apocalyptic. But but I mean, like I just wanted to when it came to that part of me, I also didn't want to share because I wanted something that was still personally mine. I was always saying like you can have Jiggly. The world can have all the information they want about Jiggly, but
Mhm.
Bianca is off limits. Didn't realize reality television doesn't work that way. You signed up for this, you have to let the world know who you are. Like, because that who you are authentically is where people click with you. And I think that's one thing with a lot of my fan base from the show got is because they literally saw me grow up
I have the
on screen
chills.
with them.
I have the
You know,
chills. It's so
uh,
true. It's so true.
like, and if they when fans tell me how much they tell me that, oh, I was a fan of yours since season 4. I've seen you grow up and glow up to this beautiful woman, and I'm like, I I honestly did grow up in front of people. I A lot has changed since season 4. I had to grow up. I had to, and season 4 was a way for me to see myself through a lens that I was not ready for, but I had to see. Like I really like after season 4, I went through a lot of like therapy after because like I was so broken and I didn't even realize how broken I was because I was just trying to numb myself for so many years. And then here comes Drag Race. I was like, literally projecting all of my frustration, my insecurities, everything was all on the table on Drag. I was like, fucking face. But that's why I always say I'm thankful for Drag Race because it honestly changed me for the better. I don't know where I would be if didn't get to see myself that way.
What did you learn about yourself?
I learned that I was hurt. I was really, really hurt. I was broken and I needed to find a way to fix myself and build myself back up so that I could feel somewhat normal and human again. I just didn't, there was so much pain that I was going through that I was just masking it with like
Everything on the
bullshit.
outside. Everything on the outside. And
Yeah. And
it's weird that when you wake up from a moment like that, because I've had many times in my life. I feel like before I started on Drag Race, I went through a period of that. Then I got lost in the drag world and I let that be my obsession, attachment. Like it was like, okay, I'm just going to this is going to be my new world now. And then life fucking happens, and you kind of like, and then I entered my 30s and stopped wanting to go out and stopped like having all of that to distract me. And I was left to like sit with myself and was
Yeah.
like, who the fuck am I anymore? Like I've been so caught up in like everyone else's worlds that I haven't like so the last couple of years have really been about like rediscovering myself. And that's why I want to do this podcast to like reflect back and like just like go through my journey, because there are so many of those moments where like you don't just sit with yourself and look at like how much you've just been numbing everything.
Yeah. And people forget, like, we're humans. We evolve. We have to go through the motions, and sometimes you have to face that mirror you do not want to face. You know, you just got to. You have to. It's to get to the next love, like part in life. You have to.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain chapters that just gotta go. Like you just gotta close that chapter. It has to end.
Yeah, exactly. Like me and that chapter has ended. No, but we like grew the fuck up together. We were both little fucking babies figuring life out. So after Drag Race, I mean, it's been a journey for you. Are you still escorting? When did that stop? What
No,
was that?
that ended right. I remember telling myself, if this drag race shit doesn't work out, like I'll have to go back. But I remember I had my friends scrub all my stuff.
Okay,
Like
so
make
this is what because they do background checks, and I
uh-huh.
remember okay, now it's all kind of coming back to me. I remember I'll never forget the picture Manila sent me. It was the picture of you, and I have to show it on the podcast, but you're like a bird. Were you a
The
bird?
butterfly.
You're a butterfly. You're a butterfly. And you were a butterfly, and it was just like you just looked like a ball of joy. And I'll never forget like Manila being like, yeah, there might be some things you need to like keep hush hush. Like she lives majority as a woman.
Uh-huh.
And for me, like I did kind of put two and two together. Like maybe, but I didn't know. So okay, go back to your story. I just wanted a little side note.
So I it was honestly like up until the the day before I left for filming. The day before I left on my 7:45 a.m. Southwest flight to Drag Race. I remember the day before was my last client, and he was one of my regulars. So I saw him, and I still like saw some regulars up until maybe like 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when it honestly just stopped. But like I would, but because I always told myself like, listen, if it didn't, but I remember like sorry Manila were like, what are you gonna do if they ask about that? I'm like, I mean that is illegal, so I can't talk about it. So I was just like, I had my brother's friend basically make sure that anything that was of my escort name to be
Mm-hmm.
scrubbed somehow, like find it, delete it, like make sure it like just dies in the dark web or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, nothing was ever really found. And there was one time that a guy said something to me that he was like, I'm going to expose you. Like some shitty fucking fan sent me this Facebook message. It was like a whole mess of shit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I decided, I was like, I'm not going to let some fucking little bitch tell my story and not even tell it right. So, and I remember that was the week that I ended up it was around the same time I ended up doing Hey Queen. And that's when I literally just like boom, said it out loud.
I'm an
Because I said it on
escort.
a podcast.
That
Yeah,
you
that I
were.
was an escort. But I said it on a podcast, but I didn't know that like
Hmm.
how it would go, how far it would reach. But I knew that with Hey Queen, because I remember Johnny sending me an email and he was like, listen, Jiggly, there was information that got to me. I would like to talk about it, but it is up to you. Like, I want to ask you if this is okay to talk about. And I told Johnny, I was like, honestly, Johnny, I'll let you know. Like, right
How I'm
now,
feeling that
yeah.
day. How I'm feeling that
Yeah. Like,
day.
cause like I told him, I was like, right now, yeah. But I don't know, cause I also like my my brother kind of knew,
Yeah, I
but
was
he
gonna. You
didn't.
brought up your brother, like
Yeah,
scrubbing
cause
your
he
stomach.
didn't. Like, he kind of knew, but he didn't. Like, it was just never confirmed with my brother how I made
Mm.
money. My family, though, my aunts, my everybody, they didn't know. So that's one thing, that was a conversation that I knew I would have to make
Hmm.
before any of this actually comes out into the universe.
I had T.S. Madison on the pod, and we like dived so heavy into this because it really like it's fascinated me for a long time because I've always said sex work is work.
It
Known
is.
I've always known that it's survival. I remember,
Uh-huh.
and the only reason why I challenged myself with this thought, like from an early age, was because I remember thinking like it can't be a sexual thing. Like that's fucking weird, but that's like how society ingrained it in little kids was like, oh, these, sex deviants or, like just
And
awful
when
representation
people
for
ask
what it
about it, like,
is.
yeah, and people think that you get like, if these certain type of dudes, no, it ain't. It
No.
is not.
It
It
is
is
not
not
Pretty Woman.
attractive.
It is
It
not
is
Pretty
not
Woman.
exactly. It is not that. I wish it was that. I wish, bitch.
It takes like it's a last effort to live your life authentically, and it makes
Yeah.
so much sense that it's like how did it work in your mind when it was like when you were like, this is the only way I'm going to be able, like, what was that conversation you had with yourself of this is the only way I'm going to be able to make money? Or did you see someone else making money and were like, well, she pays her bills that way, I guess, like, this will work for me? Did it come from you thinking no one's going to hire me? Like, how did the conversation go with yourself
I
before?
knew that getting a 9 to 5 day job situation was going to be very difficult because I knew who I was trying to live my life to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, that can't, like, that's going to be fucking difficult. Because I remember when I applied for Drag Race, I said that I worked at a movie theater.
I remember that too.
But I mean, I technically did, even though I got fired from the movie theater like a year or two prior to that. But I just needed to put something down to make it
Why
look
did you get
legit.
fired? Did you get fired for being trans?
No, I
You just
got
got
fired
fired.
because I was always late. And I would pay other people to do like, so cleaning up at the end of the night, I would always try to get out of it.
Okay.
So I would be like, listen, I'll give you $20, just clean the popcorn machine. I don't want to do it.
Okay, so you put movie theater on your app, and then what happened?
And then, like all that, I I had a friend, and I mean, not had, she's still around and she's still my friend.
Mm-hmm.
She was the one who kind of like, well, listen, if you want to make a little money, I can help you out. She was like, but she was very honest with me, and that's why I respect her so much, because she was dead honest with me. She was like, this ain't cute. She was, don't think that we're getting like the trade to come pay us money. She was like, trade ain't got no money, bitch. She was like, it's not gonna be them. It's going to be the ugliest, oldest motherfuckers that look like Santa Claus. are coming through here, and dudes that look like Al Bundy are coming through here to pay you for it. It is not cute. And I was like, so I remember she not made me, she was like, you want to try it out? She gave me a cut, blah, blah, blah. We did, my first few were with her.
Mm-hmm.
She taught me the rope, everything. Like I really like respect her for it
Yeah, she was your.
because
She wanted to make sure that you were safe, and that's another thing that like it's there's a sense of community within the sex work world, and
yeah,
that's why I think sex workers and drag queens get along because they get the fucking hustle, and they get the sense of
yeah, it's a hustle.
community.
And she was always like, listen, it ain't cute, bitch. Like, don't. She was like, don't think like even when I go on like when I do anything on my own, she was like, don't think that this is gonna be like there are gonna be days where you book the hotel and it like there's just no fish biting. She was like, you're just stuck there. Now you're like stuck in fucking Scranton, Pennsylvania for a weekend and you only made $150
Mm-hmm.
because you only had one client. And I'm like, oh fuck. And she was like, you can't be charging the way like you would charge in New York in like Scranton, Pennsylvania. But she was like, it was a hustle. And she taught me the hustle. She was like, she was like, you're Asian, you're a chubby girl. She was like, there's a lot, like you can charge money for that. Like it's extra because it's exotic. And she was like, motherfuckers are racist. She was like, they're gonna want you as a maid, as a nurse. She was like, they're gonna want you with an accent. She was like, you gotta play up the role. And she was always like very like, girl, Isabella
She was
gave
like
me
your older.
every
She was like your older sister.
yeah. And the one thing I loved about her too is like she never like took money from me to be like, I mean, she would be like, "Oh, okay, pay for dinner, bitch." Like that's
Mm-hmm.
the kind of situation it would
But
be.
she wasn't like pimping you out.
Hell no, no, that was one of the. If anything, she was like my PR agent because she was teaching me exactly how to do this. You know what I mean?
Well, and you would
Shit, David
and
from
just
PG takes more from me than she ever did.
shout out David. But put it into perspective. Like you had just lost your mom.
Yeah,
You
I
were
needed to make money. I bills were
you
paid.
had just come out as a woman. You were
Yeah,
trying to live your life authentically as a woman. You weren't going back. I think that's another thing that people don't talk about enough is like once you make that decision within yourself and you come out to other people, like there's not you don't want to go backwards. And
yeah. Because
society
I
wants you to go
remember looking at the
backwards.
box because I remember I told you my mom made me keep one box. She
Hmm.
said, just in case, keep one box.
Hmm.
And I was like, it makes sense. And I was like, because nothing in life, you never know the future. You never know
Hmm.
whatever. And my mom told me, she was like, I don't want you to make a decision, change your mind, and not be able to feel like you can't go back. So she was like, let's keep one box and let's see. Okay. She was like, we can keep it for a year or two, whatever. She was like, that's up to you. But let's just have one for safety. Okay.
That's motherly. I love it. She's like,
Yeah. But I remember after my mom died, I was so angry one night. I just chucked the box because I knew there was no going back for me. I was like, I had no other choice but to just live my life now because who else am I going to live my life for? Because for me, before, it was like my life was just for my mom and my family. And then I was like, for so long, I kind of like put things in the back burner because I didn't know what my family would think.
mm-hmm,
When my mom died, I was like, fuck it, fuck everyone. I was like, it's all about me.
mm-hmm.
And
You do have that moment during grief where you're like, it is this freeing because you've been like, you felt the lowest you've ever felt that when you get like
mhm,
any bit of self worth, that you just, it's like,
it's it. That's it.
fuck everyone else's bad day. Like I don't give a fuck anymore. Like if I'm
Yeah.
not, you know what I mean? Like you've been at your lowest, and it's like
Hmm.
this lonely feeling that like is undescribable. That like you feel like a part of you's gone,
Yeah.
and you
So mainly with my mom, it was like my mom was my life.
mm-hmm.
Like she was my real lifeline. Everything, like anytime that I was ever in trouble, anytime I ever needed help, my mother was always there to kind of like soften the blow of life.
Right? Yeah, you'd be, and
Eh,
it's those phone calls when you like are having that one day where you're like, fuck, like I just want to talk to you for 5 minutes because you used to make me feel better, and now I don't have that comfort. So
yeah.
that's why a lot of times people try to find it externally
Yeah.
because they're not
Like,
getting
like
it inside anymore. And so it
yeah,
really is
like
you have to go through a whole self-love again journey and find your self-worth again because a lot of us place our self-worth on what our parents think about us. And it's
yeah.
like as long as my mom's okay with me, then I'm
Yeah,
okay in this world. But
with the world, yeah.
once that's taken away from you, it's like just up to you now.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of pressure.
Ooh, yeah. So I was just like, ah, shit. So thankfully, after all that, and then I was also keeping my escorting from my brother. Because, like, any of, like, weakness or pain I was feeling,
Hmm.
I didn't want my brother to know that I was feeling it.
Well, you're the
Because for me,
oldest.
I had to be the strong one. I have to be strong. I have to be the one that's mature, the one that's settled in my head. I couldn't even cry in front of my brother.
That's how I was during my whole dad's sickness because my dad had cancer, so it was like a slow process, and like slow but fast. But that's how I felt. I was like, I have to be the only one that's not weak. Like I have to
Yeah.
pretend I'm strong.
Everybody else can cry so I can make them feel better. Like
Mm-hmm.
I always told myself, I'm like, if my brother needed me, I will be the shoulder for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I will never be the one to cry in front and ask him for his shoulder. I couldn't do that. Like I was like, I need to be the big sister. I need to be the strong one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then so there was all that was going on,
And escorting. And so
and
Drag Race kind of saved your life because who knows where you would have wound up without that platform.
well, because so the reason why also Drag Race was thrown upon me was because there was one night that something bad really happened, and I remember calling Sahara, and I told Sahara, don't tell anyone, but this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm in Philadelphia. I'm by myself. I can't go to the police. I can't do this. I can't do that. Like, I don't know what to do. Sahara was like, well, let me Western Union you some money, come
Mm-hmm.
back to New York, and like, we'll figure it out or whatever. Basically, what happened was I was raped by a client. And on top of that, he stole my money. So all the money that I made that weekend, he took from me. So I was like, fuck. I didn't know what to do. And, I was scared. And the only person I could call was Sahara. Because even Manila, I couldn't like tell Manila. Like she didn't know all this stuff about me then. Like,
So it would have been
because
a lot to unload onto her on top of
yeah,
the trauma
because
that
like
you had
Manila
just
and
gone
me
through.
were like how me and Manila became friends was Manila Sahara and me were friends first.
Mm-hmm.
Manila came into the picture because she started dating Sahara, so that's how we became friends.
And like to anyone listening, it's like when you're best friends with the one partner, you're not like going and spilling tea to their boyfriend. Like no,
Yeah,
you keep that like they're like the Batman and Robin, you know? It's like
yeah,
like you weren't gonna spill that tea to both of them. And deep down you probably knew that like Sahara was telling Manila what she wanted to tell her,
yeah.
about you.
And I also didn't tell. it's not like I ever told Sahara, don't tell her. It was more like I just felt more comfortable at the time with Sahara because she's like that's
Yeah.
who I established my friendship first.
Oh my God, do you know that
And
I
then
stayed? Do you really pause break? But do you know that one I took right after Manila season? I went and stayed with Manila and Sahara together in New York.
in the
Their
apartment
their
on 114,
their little apartment where they shared a
yeah,
room with another girl, and I stayed in that room with them for the weekend. Like, talk about how I used to just rough it. Like, I would just book a plane ticket to go stay with two drag queens in one room with them. But I'm really glad I got that time with Sahara. But
yeah.
continue.
And Sahara was like, so, and yeah, I just remember Sahara sending the money. She was like, come back to New York. I can't, I got back and like basically I just nursed my wounds because
Well, how
I,
how far was this before Drag Race?
this was the year before Drag Race.
Oh my
Because
God.
Manila was all, filming
Oh,
because it
her
was
tape.
2010. No, Manila was filming Drag Race.
Wait, and so after you were raped, I'm literally this is the first time you've told me this.
There's a lot. I mean, my
But that's what a lot of people don't talk
this is
about.
also like the part about like sex work where it is dangerous. Like I was I don't I ever want to romanticize this for people. The money's cute, the money's fast, blah blah blah. But there's a dark side to it that people always like nobody wants to talk about it because it's trauma. And when that happened to me, I just remember like getting back, I was like, okay, well, I couldn't go home right away. And thank God Sahara sent me more than enough money that I was like, I stayed at a hotel for one night here in New York, and I was just like basically nursing my wounds, trying to get myself together because I knew I couldn't come back to the house for my brother to see me. And, it wasn't like there was like bruises or physical, whatever. Like he couldn't see where my bruises were, obviously,
He would
but
know. He would
he
know.
would know that something like my brother would have sensed something bad happen if I would have came home right away.
Mm-hmm.
So I collected myself, and then I remember just like seeing Sarah after that weekend, and she was just like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Nah." And ever since then, that's when Sarah was like, "You need to get out of this." She was like, "Before something else happens." She was like, "You don't know." She was like, "Jiggly, that." She was like, "That's like God looking out for you, and
Mm-hmm.
thank God it's just that." She's like, it sucked that it happened, but at least you're not dead. She was like, too many girls just die and nobody even know about it. And I was just like, I know, I know, I know. And, it was, and then Manila season aired. And then come the finale in New York,
I was there.
Raja, Raja, Jujubee, Manila, Sahara cornered me and was like, you're auditioning for this. She was like, you're auditioning for this. She was like, Jiggly, this could be you. She was like, the world would love you. And then Jujubee, who when I first started escorting, I was using her pictures for MySpace.
Stop! Wait a minute. You were using Jujubee's pictures
From MySpace.
from MySpace on your escorting profile? Does she know this?
Yeah. I told her when we were in Australia. And she was like, what? I was like, yeah, bitch. It was like the
Wait,
beginning. It was like the
wait,
first 4 months of
So
me
when you
escorting.
asked when you asked your brother to scrub your escorting stuff, he was really scrubbing Jujubee's photos?
It wasn't my brother. It was my brother's friend.
Okay,
Because,
but still, they were scrubbing pictures of Jujubee off the internet.
uh-huh.
I am dead gone. Why did you use Jujubee's pictures?
Because she has a round face. She gives the effect. And at that time, I was also only doing smoky eyes and a nude lip.
And this was before Face App or Facetune, so
Yeah,
like people were getting raw and real photos of you. all,
yeah. So,
all we had were like shitty filters that we could put over, like to give you like a super glow, like RuPaul
but
season
yeah, I
one.
remember that. I so that was that. That's what it was. And then I also
I'm
remember
dead.
like
That's my favorite part of this whole episode was you used Jujubee's photos on your escorting
yeah, I
fucking act.
remember when Sahara came back from filming season 2. Sahara told me because she knew, and I told Sahara came back. She was like, "Jiggly, you can't use that lady's pictures anymore." I go, "What lady?" She goes, "The girl who you've been using from Boston." I was like, "So what? Like she doesn't live here. She doesn't know." Sahara was like, "Jiggly, she's a nice girl. Don't do that." I was like, "How do you know?" And that's what Sahara told me she did Drag Race.
Wait, so you used her photos before even knowing she did Drag Race?
Yes.
Wait, this is the T of T's. How did you even have Jujubee's photos? Just from like being a friend of.
MySpace.
This is so tea. It is piping hot.
Yeah.
I
Just
love it.
I was like, so what I did was when I was on MySpace, I was like looking for like Asian girls.
Okay.
Originally, I was looking at chubby Asian girls, and none of them were giving the effect that I wanted.
Okay. But Jujubee gave the fucking effect that you
He
wanted.
sure did. And I was like, oh. So I also made sure that I only used Juju's pictures from like titty up because she's
Okay.
not chubby. But Juju's face was round, so it can give chubby just, like, I mean, she just had a neck and I did it. But it was close enough.
I will say I remember when we did your because back season 4 it was the beginning and like we were still kind of having to like piece together tapes because people didn't have the technology that they have now to like that you couldn't record from your phone like we had Blackberries, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so it was harder to film your drag race audition tapes. So people would send in like chunks of stuff. We would ask for photos of them. Like
Uh-huh.
we would kind of have to do the editing because like people couldn't professionally edit at that point. And I remember you having a lack of photos.
Yeah.
You
Because
had a
all my
lack.
photos are like
And
either
you had
just
no boy photos. So you had to like
none.
I remember making you take boy photos and you had to like butch it up for me because you had no boy photos.
Oh my
I'm
God. And
dead.
the clothes that I was using were my brother.
This is so tea. Like this is
Hmm.
so
And
tea.
then when I got like, oh, how annoying it was for me to get cast on Drag Race was not only did I have to buy clothes for Jiggly, I had to buy boy clothes because I was like, I can't go there in girl clothes. And then I remember there was times I had like a girl, like a shirt,
Yeah.
and then Willem was like, "Why do you have a bra strap with your shirt?" I was like, "Mind your business." Fucking noticing everything. I hated them.
Oh my
Those
god.
bitches, every girl on that season noticed all of me and Kenya's femininity so fucking fast. I remember when, like, because when we obviously we would change in front of each other, like, my male boobs were a little bit bigger than usual, and they were like,
Yeah, like, are you on the moans? Are you on the moans? It always used to be that, like,
Willem,
who's on the moans? Who's on the
Willem
moans?
clocked it because me and Kenya, we had our little knot. And
Mm-hmm.
then she would walk around the workroom going, I see knots. And I was like, shut up. This bitch.
You and Willem ended up getting close. I feel like that became and
Yeah. Like Willem, I only didn't like Willem on the first 3 days. But when I ended up working with Willem for the wrestling
after the
challenge,
I swear it was after the breakdown. I talk about it in Willem's episode, the night in Denny's. I don't know if you remember that night in
no,
Denny's.
that too. But I also like Willem when, like, working with Willem in the wrestling challenge was where I got who Willem was. Like it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like because he was telling me all like his work and whatever. Like it prior to that, it just felt like Willem was just bragging.
Yes,
But
and that is something that people will think. People will think it's like this.
like name dropping, and I was like, but then when I was working with Willem, it was just like, no, this motherfucker knows what he's talking about because he does television.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he gets it. He knew what we needed to do. And he was like, this is going to be more impactful. It's a twist. But it was a lot. Like, Willem thought he was fucking Ryan Murphy trying to do that fucking wrestling challenge. I don't know what kind of episode he was trying to film, but it was like compelling. And Willem had like everything written down. So ever since then, that's when I was like, oh, she's just not a bitch that's just bragging.
Mm-hmm.
She's just proud of her work. So I was like, oh, I get it. And yeah, that's why I was like, ever since then, I was like, okay, now I respect you. I like you.
When we talked on the phone the other day, you were like, we have to tell them this story about Drag Race. What was it? Was it my birthday? Was it the night that we went to
Oh,
dinner?
your birthday dinner that I don't know how you finagled the situation that we were allowed to go eat outside of the hotel. And we were at this, what was it a Long John's or Longhorn, whatever the fuck it was. And
It was
we,
it was like a chain restaurant, like a BJ's. I think it was like BJ's.
something like that.
Let me
It was
paint the scene. Let me paint the scene. So the show is so different now. None of this is allowed, and
absolutely not. Absolutely
A
not.
PA does not have this power. But it was season 4. The Queens. We had a dark weekend. It was like, so how it works is like, with filming a TV show, like you could really only have people work like 6 days and then you have to take a dark day. And then sometimes they'll have like a weekend where there's like 3 days that are dark. And so
Yeah.
the
It was
queens
a
have to
3-day
just,
weekend.
it was a 3-day weekend. The queens just had to like stay at the hotel and they would get so bored. And I was afraid, like, I don't know. I would get very invested and I would be like, what are they going to do for 3 days? And the
We
season
couldn't go to the
prior,
pool.
they couldn't go to the pool. They couldn't do anything unless there was a supervisor. And because it was a dark weekend, like none of the PAs were working. So it was just going to be them alone at the hotel. It happened to be my birthday weekend. And I texted the EP of the show at the time. And I was like, listen, it's a dark weekend. Like, do you mind if like I go down to the hotel and I'll watch them for a day just so they could like get out of their rooms and I'll monitor everything. And maybe I could just take them to dinner across the street. And they were fine with it. They were like,
Yeah.
as long as there's no like show talk and like you monitor
Yeah.
it and don't let them get drunk and keep us updated, like it's fine. And so I was so fucking excited. I like came to the hotel and I couldn't text you guys or anything. So I would just have to like come to the hotel and knock on your doors and be like, we can go to the mall today for my birthday. But yes, continue the story.
So we get to the restaurant. We're trying to get seated. Sharon and myself proceed to go to the bar. We buy shots for ourselves first. So that alone was already not going to be a good start because we already had shots.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. Then we get seated. We go sit in the table. We order drinks. We're all obviously we're all over 21, so we're allowed to get drinks. It's your birthday, and we weren't paying for it, so fuck it. We were like, duh, let's buy a drink. We ate. We sure fucking did. I remember I drank my drink. I had 2 drinks, and then I don't know who's the one who ordered the shots, but I had those shots, and then I went back to the bar and got 2 more shots. I was sloshed.
I remember, and that I remember being so confused because I remember someone being like, somebody gave her brown, like that was like a joke, like don't give Jiggly dark liquor.
Yeah, nobody give me brown liquor.
No one give Jiggly brown liquor because she gets crazy. And I remember at one point, like, you just couldn't stop laughing. And I was like having a panic attack. I was like, oh my God, like, how am I going to control like these grown adults at the fucking table? Then Willem's sitting there telling me how she was going to go spray tanning. And I was like, whoa, I'm losing control. I just wanted to have dinner for my birthday. And so you're wasted. Sharon's like, buying
Sharon
shots.
was wasted too.
Sharon was wasted. Willem's
But
talking about
Sharon was like, Sharon is a professional drunk though. There's a
professional.
difference.
There was a professional.
I couldn't. I was not. I was like, I'm a lightweight. So bitch, I was fucked.
Needless
And
to say, we had a great birthday dinner. I can't believe that fucking happened.
and then I remember you just telling me, you're like, Jiggly, you cannot be drunk. She was like, thank God we have a dark day tomorrow. She was like, Jesus Christ, Jiggly. Because I couldn't show up to like set like hungover.
They would have been like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, like you would have gotten in so much trouble. So I was like, I remember like everybody was just trying to get me sober up so that and like so that by the time like the next day too, you were just like she was like, you knocked on my door, you're like, are you okay? I go, I don't want to exist. Like y'all just got me so like I mean my hangover lasted like 3 hours. I was fine the next like by dinner I was cool. Like the next night, like but I was just like, oh man, if I would have had to film,
Did I just spend like the whole weekend there? Like what the hell?
yeah,
Oh my god, because didn't we have a pool day? We did.
yes,
And I'll never forget, like, that was the day I realized Latrice Royale had the best music taste I had ever met. Because I remember
oh
we had
he's
Latrice's iPad out. That's when,
uh-huh,
remember Kenya was walking around the pool with like her nipples covered with tape
uh-huh.
and a little bikini bottom? And I was like, that's a woman. Like,
And I remember like I remember like having to buy swim trunks. And I was like, oh, I hate this. And I was with it in a t-shirt and everything because I was like, I am not showing off anything. Because I was like, I knew that like I was just like so insecure about my body. So it was just so bad. I was like, oh no. And I was trying to deal with that fucking hangover. Thankfully, I was like, it was gone by the oh Lord. It was those are the days. Those are the good
those
days. And
were
then
the
remember when you guys
fucking
took us to
days.
get milkshakes at the mall across the street?
And I let Dita
That
buy
was
new shoes or something because she like had broken all of her shoes.
yeah, Dito bought new shoes.
Madame Lequire!
Madame, oh my God.
Madame
But that was
Lequire!
also the day. So I will tell you this much. Ooh, Jeremy's gonna kill me. But that's the day that Jeremy went to Kmart and bought a phone.
Fifi
Mm-hmm.
got a phone at Kmart.
Uh-huh. You sure did. Because it wasn't you that was like
I think season 4 was the most problematic in all of Drag Race history.
oh, we were the reason why all rules became like became law. It was before it was just like suggested. Up until season 4, the rules were just suggested. After season 4, it was enforced.
It was new. It was, yeah, now you could only come with a certain amount of looks. But again, it was the beginning of writing the blueprint for the show, is how I look at it. It's like, that's how
Yeah.
blueprints are made. It's like people have to come in there and figure it out for the first time. And we sure did. And it really is so crazy looking back because all of us like came into each other's lives at like the perfect, like we really all grew up together. I think back
Yeah.
now, like, what if I had never met Manila and Sahara and they never introduced me to you? And now thinking back to like looking back on everything you've told me,
And
like
then
drag
when you called me for season 5, who was my suggestion?
hell.
Roxy.
You did give, see, back in the day, like that was the thing because it was like I would call you guys and I would be like, who should I have? And yes, you told me about Roxy Andrews. So did Detox. But you were the one that told me about Roxy Andrews. And fuck, was that a good one?
See?
Oh my
We
god,
all kind of like
I have to have Roxy
when
on
we
here.
when the girls suggest other girls, we deliver the gold. We
You
don't
deliver the
deliver
gold.
some we don't deliver some like fucking whack ass bitch. We were like delivering the good girls. Like we were like these are the girls that
Legends.
to this day have careers. So, you
No,
know,
the best of the best. No, I mean, I really got them the best of the
jokingly
best.
Willem told me Willem, like I said, what when was it Willem told me? She was like, it's just me, you, and Latrice that are still working. I was like, shut up. That is not true. Chad is married. She doesn't care about this traveling gig shit. She doesn't care. She was like, she was like, Fifi is happy being the Twitch diva. She's okay there. She was like, Sharon. I was like, shut. She was like, it's just me, you, and Latrice. And I was like, shut up.
The last three standing. Oh my god.
She was
I'm
like, she's like, we're the three losers that are still working.
oh my god. What's a common misconception about you that you wish people knew the tea on?
The biggest misconception is like a lot of people take my placement or my results on Drag Race as like the end all be all of who I am as a queen or as a person. And I'm like, that's like an encapsulated piece of time. And it's like, and it's not even by my choice. These are granted, my choices are made on the show and they just piece it together. But like, if any given normal person, like if I had the actual time to produce an actual, had I known I was supposed to be funny for that magazine, shit would have been different. God damn it!
It's true,
But
but you don't
but I
regret
feel like a lot of
anything.
people just, I think people just take drag. I want people to realize is that Drag Race is not the end all be all for every queen on that show. It's an introduction to who we are, but it's not the seal of like the seal that this is who we are and that's it.
Hmm.
And that's one thing.
And what was
And I'm a lot more. I have a lot of the friends. I'm a lot friendlier with a lot of the cooler girls.
what
Your
does that mean?
A-list Rue girls,
What does that mean?
the million followed queen. I think I'm friends with all of them. Fuckers. How did they get it?
Yeah, well,
No.
we were at the beginning, you know what I mean? And you
Yeah.
really were a part of like creating the show's legacy. And what was it
And
like?
now I'm part. And now I'm judging shit. So it's like it's crazy.
Tell me about how that feels. Tell me about how that came about.
It was right after All Stars, and they asked me. They were like, "Would you be interested in like being part of Drag Race Philippines?"
Mhm.
I said, I'm willing to be part of Drag Race Philippines by any means necessary. I'm like, I'll be the fucking janitor if you need me to be. I don't give a shit. And, and they're like, would you host? I said, absolutely not. Oh, hell no. No. I was like, no. I was like, but anything else, like special guests, whatever, I'm down.
Mhm.
Come to realize they wanted me to be one of the main judges for the show. So I was like, okay, cool. And it's been fun. Get to go back again, do more, and we'll see.
You should be proud
Honey,
of
she's good.
yourself. You
Thank
should be proud.
you. I'm glad that they trusted me with it, considering I'm one of the most problematic girls when we were filming. Do you know that when I got back to All Star 6, they were like, check her. Make sure she doesn't have her phone on her.
They knew season 4, the terror season. The fact I even made it out alive and they let me work on season 5 is to say
But
the
after
least.
season 5, they were like, no, no, that's it.
They
That's
were
the
like,
end.
goodbye, Coco. We're cutting her. We're cutting. Detox was the nail in the coffin.
It wasn't us considering what we did. Jesus.
Oh my God. I mean, but none of that was me. Even now, looking back, I did nothing wrong. I was a young girl.
Also, no, a lot of the girls, we knew not to do that to you.
Yeah, because
Because
you
we
guys,
were like,
and that's the thing, you
you
guys
were the
always had
only,
my fucking back because you knew I was the only one that really cared about your well being. Or
yeah,
that's how
because it
it
wasn't that.
seemed. That's how it seemed. Other people cared about you, but when you're in like a prison like environment like that, I was your
No,
warden.
that other girl didn't care for us. She
Oh,
didn't like
Casey.
us.
Oh, Casey hated.
Oh,
Casey didn't think you guys
mama,
should get married.
hello, she didn't like us. We didn't like her. We were like, oh man.
Yeah, who
She
hired
was,
the Republican? And then there's me, like gay as fuck, like friends with Raja, like you guys were like, yes, Coco's the one. And Manila had prepped you. What did Manila tell you about me before Drag
oh,
Race?
so Manila also, that's one thing that Manila told me. She was like Jiggly. She was like, Coco is my friend. She works on the show. She was like, Jiggly, if she works with you, do not give her a hard time, Jiggly. She's very nice. She's a good person, Jiggly. Don't be a bitch to her. She was like, be nice. And I was like, okay. I was like, if she's cool with me, we're gonna be fine. And Coco, you were the only one, and you were so chill about everything. And I remember just Like also specifically for me, I remember this part was the day of my mom's anniversary and we had to film. I literally did not want to leave my room. I didn't want to leave my room. I didn't want to film. I was so depressed that day. I just was not in the right space. And then I was just like, I knew also like the acting challenge. Was it the acting challenge? I just didn't. Oh no, it wasn't the acting challenge. It was the RuPaul songs. The we had to do the infomercial.
Yes.
I was just like, I didn't feel like it was. I don't know. I just didn't feel like it. I remember you just be like, listen, do this for me. Film this. She was like, get up today, do this, and I will get you caramel popcorn from ArcLight. That is literally how you get me to do anything on the show.
But but who delivered you fucking caramel popcorn from the arc light?
You did. So I was like, and as you were just like, Jiggly, you literally were like, Jiggly, just get through this day. I promise tomorrow you will have caramel popcorn from ArcLight. I was like, okay. Sure enough, you sure did deliver. I said, I was like, I thought you were just saying that to get me out, like to get me up and
Mm-hmm.
be like, all right, just do this, you little bitch. No, I was like, and you actually came through. So I was like, and that from then I was like, oh, Manila's for real. Like she's good people. And then you were also my first like solo. You were the person that came with me on my first solo like shows as a Rue girl because it was back to back. I did Vegas and then Panama City, Florida.
I went to Panama City Beach, Florida with fucking Jiggly. And I remember I still have an image of me and you getting ready because in Panama City Beach, that club, they have like a barn attached to the
Uh-huh.
venue and that's where the queens get ready in. And I remember for those listening, right after season 4, I had a feeling, like, I don't know, I just had a feeling that I'd rather tour with the girls after the show. Like, I was more into, like, your careers after the show. And I was friends with the Queen's manager, David, who was Manila's manager, and he got me in with the Queens. And I was like, send me
He's
on.
still our manager. He's
Oh.
still our man. David, like,
David, no,
man,
David.
like
Oh my God, I'm gonna go to their Christmas party. I just got an invite, so I'll go to that. You should come, fly in.
I'm in New York. How?
But yeah, no, David and I, like in the beginning, he would send me with all the girls because he knew I knew how to take care of you guys from set. So
Yeah.
it was like who better to take care of them than the girl that worked with them on set for Drag Race. So he would send me. I mean, I even like I remember Visage being at some of the original gigs with us. Like it was like the beginning of drag queens touring.
That's the what do you call this? Battle of the Seasons.
Battle of the season. But yeah, I remember us. We went to Vegas together, and went to Panama City Beach, Florida together, which is
That
fucking
was
crazy.
yeah. Oh my God. And back then I didn't have any fucking miles yet. So we were stuck in economy in the back, the ass of the
The
place.
ass in the bag, and I was fine, like going to some random city. Yeah, as the queens got more gigs, their statuses got better, and I got to like. I remember after I when I was touring with DWV, they were like all diamond, and I was just like living that fucking diamond life, like first class, like getting to go to the lounges. And then when I started traveling by myself, like after the queens, I was like, oh no.
Oh shit.
Back to basic economy. Get the fuck out of here. Bring me back to. And when you're traveling with drag queens, like most of the stewardess are like gay or like girls that
Oh my
love
God,
drag race. So
yeah.
they treat you like you're fucking an A-lister. Like,
Uh-huh.
even just me by association, they'd be like, oh, you're with Detox. God, we've really lived the life and we went through a lot. I want to like wrap it up. Like I do want to wrap it up on a happy note, but I also want to like reflect back on like how proud are you of yourself and like what would you say, this is a little tic tac lunchy, but like what would you tell that younger girl and has it been like, do you feel like your mom's watched you, been like your guardian angel through this whole thing?
I would love to think that, and I think that that is what's happening because ever since then, I feel like there's a lot of things that I've gone through that are kind of like gone, I pretty much escaped death or like trouble. And I feel like, Drag Race helped me get to know myself. I think Drag Race forced me to see myself at the position that I was in and what I was doing to myself at the time
Mm-hmm.
to kind of grow up and be like, listen, this has to change. And the Drag Race has done that for me a few times because it was like, I still wish that one piece that I wish that didn't change was prior to Drag Race, you couldn't tell me shit. You could not tell me I was not Nicole Scherzinger of the Pussycat Dolls or Beyonce or Janet Jackson when I hit that stage. But because of the fandom, they pointed out all of my flaws. And I got to really see myself and be like, it humbled me. But
Mm-hmm.
that fierceness, I'm glad that I got it back. And I'm glad that Drag Race humbled me too. But that I do think that that girl just needed to grow, and everything that was going to happen for me was going to happen when it was time.
Mm-hmm.
Getting posed after Drag Race a few years after, like I remember saying on Drag Race, I'm not an actress. I would never do television, bitch. Like,
And then you were on motherfucking Pose.
so
So
that's the things that I was like, I it helped me grow, and I'm glad that I did the things that I did because of Drag Race, and you know, I could never. I talk shit about Drag Race because I think I've earned my stripes, but I'm very grateful for everything that it has given me.
mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of it is like my mom also making sure that I'm at the right place at the right time. You know, I'm very grateful that RuPaul gave me the "May I call you Jiggly." She doesn't give a catchphrase to anyone. You know what I mean? Like when she just like she blesses you with that, bitch, you take that and run. She
Mm-hmm.
gave me that.
She gave you that.
I will forever be grateful for that because out of all the girls on my season, RuPaul she chose me and she was like, "May I call you Jiggly?" And I was like, "Yep."
Because she knew that there was the world was gonna see more of you.
Yeah, she knew she had a little diamond in there. She was like, "God damn, it's a lot of fucking coal to get through," but she knew there was a diamond.
We're gonna polish her up.
She was like, "This got chip the shit."
You just gotta chip the shit. Oh my god. Ah, this was so fun catching up with you.
Thank you. Yes,
I hope you had fun.
I did. I did. I can't wait to go back to LA and see you.
I know, and maybe we'll have to have like because after Jiggly season, we would always hang out at Willem's house because she was the only rich one, and we would have like fun pool days. So maybe next time you come and visit, let's do like a full on reunion. Let's all go to dinner with the girls. Let's give you some brown liquor, and
Yes.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of the
Thank
woman that
you.
you've become. And I hope you're proud
Love
of
you,
the woman.
Coco.
I hope you're proud of the woman I've become.
Yes. I love that we all kind of just like grew up together and be like, yeah, this guy, this, like, Drag Race forever bonded a lot of girls, and you're one of the girls that definitely have like made an impact in our lives because you took care of us, Coco. You went above and beyond for us, even post show, make sure we were okay. I owe you a lot for that because not everybody. Y'all could have just easily been like, yeah, go deal with it. But you're one of the people from the show that made sure I was okay. And when certain episodes aired, you were like, "Are you okay?" This,
Mm.
I remember also Jacqueline, because Jacqueline called me the day the episode that when I broke down about my mom. She was like, Jiggly, this episode's gonna air. It might bring up feelings.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, be ready. I'm glad that I've met people like you that have made sure that kind of cultivate the the girls and mainly me. So I'm very grateful for that, Coco. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going anywhere, Jiggles. I love you so much.
Love you.
I can't wait to see you when you come to LA. And is there anything you want to plug before we sign off?
Just stay tuned for Drag Race Philippines because there's gonna be more.
Yes!
I can't wait.
Oh my god. Well, I love you so
you.
much, and I will text you later. Love you. Bye.
Shut up, Chanel! Shut up, Chanel. Chanel, shut up!